Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I didn't hear the forest at first. I know that sounds weird, but that's what hit me, standing at the edge of that closed-off trail in northern Michigan. The lack of sound. No wind through branches, no birds, no crack of ice in the distance, just the quiet hiss of light snow coming down, and the crunch of our boots in it. It was late afternoon, sky already turning that flat gray you get in winter. A faded wooden sign said the park trail was closed for maintenance, but the extra chain link fencing, the fresh padlocks, and the nervous ranger waiting for us said something else. The guy looked like he hadn't slept in days. Cheeks hollow, eyes red, fingers twitching on his belt radio, even though he hadn't keyed it once. "You Fang?" he asked. Mercer stepped forward. "That's us." The ranger's gaze flicked over our gear, rifles, packs, radios, cold weather jackets, and stopped on my face for half a second like he expected to see something there, I don't know what. Maybe he was checking if we looked scared. We did. "You're late," he said. "Sun goes down early out here." "Brief us," Mercer said. The ranger swallowed, breath clouding in the air. "We've had sounds, sightings. First it was campers calling about a big wolf, watching them from the tree line, then shredded deer. Then a guy turned up half-eaten 50 yards from a marked campsite. Dalton shifted beside me. "Wolves," he said, like he wanted the word to be solid. The ranger shook his head. "Wolves don't display their kills. They don't leave them where kids are going to find them in the morning." He swallowed again. "And they don't walk on two legs long enough to leave prints like that." I looked past him at the wall of dark pines, snow dusting their branches. Every tree looked like a shadow, pretending to be still. "How many?" Mercer asked. "We don't know." The ranger's voice dropped. "I just know when they howl, it sounds like the forest is answering." "Bodies?" Mercer asked. "3 confirmed," he said. "More missing. We closed this sector before word got out, told folks it was a busted bridge. They believed us. No one comes up here now." "But something's still killing," I said. He nodded. "Every few nights, we find the blood, we find the tracks, we hear the noise. I don't take my truck in past this point anymore. I stop here, I turn around, I leave." Mercer tilted his head. "Why'd you come today?" The ranger stared at him a long moment. "Because if you guys don't fix this, they're going to make me open this place back up in spring, like nothing's wrong. And then it won't be hikers and hunters. It'll be families." He handed Mercer a folded map with shaking fingers. "I'll get you as far as the outer marker," he said. "But when the sun touches the tree line, I'm gone, I mean it." We followed him through the gate. The moment we crossed that cheap metal threshold, my stomach flipped like I'd stepped from a room with air into one without. The snow under the trees was thinner, patchy in places, but every footprint we left looked too sharp, too loud. Our radios crackled once with static and then went quiet. We walked about half a mile, maybe a little more, before the ranger stopped at a split-rail fence and wouldn't go another inch. "This is it," he said. "This is where the sounds start." "Any advice?" Dalton asked. His voice tried to sound casual and failed. "Yeah," the ranger said. "If you hear them howl and it sounds close, that means they're already a lot closer than you think." "Appreciate it," Mercer said. The ranger looked at me again. "They don't run like normal," he said suddenly. "They move wrong. Your brain's gonna try to tell you it's a bear or a moose or something familiar." He shook his head. "Don't listen to it." Then he turned around and walked away. We watched him until he was just a shape moving through the gray. Then he vanished behind the trees, like the woods had swallowed him. Dalton blew out a breath. "This is a great vacation spot, Mercer. Really nailed the vibe." "Stay focused," Mercer said. "Luke, you're on point. Dalton, rear, eyes up, rifles slung but ready." I adjusted my grip on my rifle and stepped over the fence. The forest past the line felt like another country. Snow clung to the long needles of the pines and coated fallen logs in uneven sheets. Visibility wasn't terrible, but the trees were thick enough that anything big could stand still, and we'd never spot it until it moved. "We got tracks," I said after a minute. They led off slightly to the right, deep impressions in the snow. At first glance, they looked like oversized dog prints, but the longer I looked, the less I liked them. The stride was off, too long between steps, too much weight on the balls of the feet, not enough on the heel. Dalton knelt beside one. "That's big," he said. "Wider," I said. "Look at the spread and the claw marks. Wolves don't usually leave those." Mercer studied them in silence, then looked at the tree beside the prints. The bark was shredded 6 feet up, not gnawed, raked. 4 deep gouges evenly spaced cutting through the bark into the lighter wood beneath. "Territory mark," he said, "or a warning." "To what?" Dalton asked. Mercer gave him a look. "Us." We followed the tracks. The snow started coming down a little thicker, soft flakes drifting between the branches. It wasn't a storm, just enough to blur the edges of things. Our breath moved in front of us in slow clouds. No wind, no birds. Our footsteps and the soft creak of gear were the only sounds. We found the first carcass maybe 20 minutes in. It was a deer, or what was left of one. It lay half in a small clearing, body twisted, legs at wrong angles. The rib cage was ripped open like someone had taken a can opener to it. The heart was gone. The organs were missing. Most of the meat was untouched. Dalton stopped short. They just left it. Mercer crouched, squinting. "No," he said. "They brought it here." I frowned. "How do you know?" "Drag marks," he said, pointing. "See the furrows in the snow? Something hauled it in from that direction. And the throat." We all looked at the neck. The head hung by a strip of hide. The vertebrae were crushed and sheared at the same time, like a strong hand had twisted and pulled until everything gave. Dalton shifted his weight. "So whatever did, this doesn't hunt for food." "It hunts for sport," I said. Mercer stood. "Or dominance. Either way, this wasn't about feeding. It was about sending a message." We didn't argue. The lights started to fade faster after that. It wasn't night yet, but the kind of late afternoon where everything goes blue and your eyes start playing tricks on you. The The snowfall ticked up just enough that tiny flakes dusted my eyelashes. I kept thinking I saw movement between the trunks, shadows shifting, a shape crossing, something ducking out of sight. Every time I spun my light or rifle that way, there was nothing but trees and snow and emptiness. Then the first howl came. It rolled through the trees from somewhere ahead of us, deep and long, starting low and rising to a pitch that made my teeth hurt. It didn't sound like any wolf I'd ever heard. There was a shape to it, like words dragged through an animal throat. Dalton's knuckles whitened on his rifle grip. That's not just one, right? As if answering him, another howl joined from our left, then a third from behind us, farther away, but still too close. "They're triangulating," Mercer said. I turned in a slow circle, pulse hammering. They know exactly where we are. They knew as soon as we crossed that fence, Mercer said. The howls quieted, leaving behind a ringing silence that somehow felt worse. I realized my mouth was dry. The snow kept falling. My breath fogged out in front of me like smoke. "Mercer," I said, "I feel like something crashed through the branches ahead of us. Not walked, not padded, thrown." A heavy mass whipped out of the tree line and slammed into the snow 10 feet away in a spray of red and white. Dalton flinched backward, nearly fell, then stared down at it. It was another deer, smaller this time, neck broken, tongue hanging out. Its eyes were gone, sockets raw and wet. Its stomach was opened and empty, neatly hollowed. Dalton's voice went thin. Did they just throw that at us? I looked up. The branches above where it had come from were still moving, shedding snow. "Yeah," I said quietly. "They did." Another howl rose from behind us, closer, shorter, like a command. Mercer's face had gone tight. "We're being pushed." "Back to the fence?" Dalton asked. He shook his head. "No. They're herding us where they want us. We go back now. We bottleneck ourselves between them and the gate." "So what do we do?" I asked. Mercer scanned the trees like he was reading a map no one else could see. "There should be a small ravine northwest of here," he said. "Old Ranger Trail runs along the rim. If we make it to the ridge, we get elevation and a sight line. They don't like attacking uphill if they don't have to. Predators don't waste energy." "If they're smart," Dalton muttered. "They're smart enough to throw a deer," I said. We shifted direction. The feeling of being watched never left. It settled between my shoulder blades and stayed there, a weight I couldn't shake. Sometimes I heard snow slide off branches and convinced myself it was just gravity. Sometimes I heard something step on a twig and knew it wasn't. The howls came again, shorter now, overlapping, closer. "They're tightening the circle," Mercer said. We pushed faster. My lungs burned in the cold air. My legs ached from the uneven ground under the snow. We broke through a line of trees and found the start of the ravine Mercer had mentioned. It dropped away in front of us, maybe 20 feet down, sides steep but climbable, a frozen creek at the bottom, half covered in snow. "We follow the rim to the right," Mercer said. "Stay tight. Don't..." He didn't finish because something huge slammed into us from the side. It was a blur. Dark fur, teeth, claws, weight. 1 second I was upright. The next I was spinning, stumbling, the world tilting. Dalton was there and then he wasn't. His body knocked sideways like a toy. He went over the edge of the ravine, arms flailing, and disappeared into the trees below. I hit the ground hard enough to knock the wind out of me. My rifle skidded a few feet away. I grabbed for it, fingers numb, as a massive shape barreled past me. For just a moment, I saw it clearly. 7, maybe 8 feet tall if it had been standing all the way up. Fur matted and dark, shoulders broader than a linebacker's, legs bent wrong, more like a dog's than a man's. Its arms were long, hands too big, tipped with claws that ripped a furrow in the snow as it ran. Its head was unmistakably canine, but stretched, jaws thick with uneven teeth, eyes burning a sick yellow. It didn't even look at me. It was focused on Mercer. Mercer fired at it point blank. The first shot hit shoulder, the second somewhere in the chest. The dogman staggered, snarled, then veered off to the side and vanished into the tree line with a speed that made my eyes water. Another howl erupted from below in the ravine. Dalton! Dalton! I shouted. No answer, just a pained, choked sound somewhere through the trees and the crunch of movement that wasn't his. Mercer grabbed my arm, eyes locked on the tree line where the creature had vanished. The woods around us seethed with unseen movement now, shapes between trunks, breath in the cold. They've got him, Mercer said. I'm going after him, I said. His grip tightened. Luke, you said they're hurting us, I snapped. He's alone down there. I'm not leaving him. For a second, I thought he was going to pull rank and order me to stay. Instead, he took one long breath, shoulders rising and falling. Fine, he said. Get him and get back to the ridge. I'll draw them off. How? I asked. His mouth twitched in something that wasn't quite a smile. By being loud. He turned and fired 3 rounds into the air, the shots cracking through the silent forest like breaking bones. Then he moved the opposite way along the rim, boots kicking up snow, shouting. Come on then, he yelled into the trees. You want something? Take a shot at me. Howls answered him from the left, from the right, from deeper in the woods. Shapes peeled off the tree line, following him. I didn't watch. I threw myself over the edge of the ravine and started sliding down into the dark, following the churned snow and broken branches where Dalton had fallen, heart pounding so hard it almost drowned out the sound of the pack closing in. I hit the bottom of the ravine hard enough that my boots slipped out from under me. Snow puffed up around my face, cold and powdery, and for a second, all I saw was white. When the world snapped back into place, everything was darker, trees crowding in overhead, their branches sagging with snow, their trunks too close together for comfort. The air felt heavier down there, like sound didn't want to travel. Dalton. Focus on Dalton. I pushed up, sucked in a breath that burned my lungs, and scanned for anything. Blood, tracks, torn bark. The snowfall had started to pick up, not a storm, but steady enough that prints softened fast. I wiped my eyes with my sleeve and listened. At first, I heard nothing. Then, something wet hit the ground somewhere ahead. A drip, another, like melted snow, except it wasn't snowing hard enough for that. I followed the sound. The ravine bottom twisted left, following the dry creek bed. Tree roots knuckled up from the ground like old bones. The light up top faded quickly. What filtered down was blue and thin. My rifle felt too big in my hands, too loud in my thoughts. Every crunch of snow under my boots might as well have been a gunshot. Then I stopped dead. Dalton's blood splattered a stretch of white ahead, bright as paint still steaming. A trail of it led to a tree trunk scored with deep claw marks and shreds of his jacket tangled in the bark. I swallowed hard. "Dalton, please be alive, man." A soft, pained groan answered me. I looked up. Dalton was wedged high in the tree, maybe 12 feet off the ground, cradled between two thick branches. His leg was bleeding heavily, pants torn open from knee to thigh. His eyes were unfocused at first, then found me. "Luke," he whispered, his voice cracked. Don't be loud." "Hey," I said quietly, moving closer. "Stay with me. I'm getting you down." "No." He swallowed. "Luke, look, above me." I raised my eyes. At first, it looked like part of the tree, dark, still, and too big to be a branch. Then it shifted just slightly, and the shape broke into pieces. A head, shoulders, long arms pressed tight to the trunk, claws sunk silently into the bark. It had been watching Dalton, watching him bleed, watching him try not to move. A dogman. Its eyes glowed faint yellow through the branches, focused on me now. Its lips peeled back in a slow, deliberate snarl, like it wanted me to see every tooth. Dalton sucked in a sharp breath, gripping the branch with white knuckles. "Luke, don't run. Don't move fast. Please." The dogman's limbs uncoiled, not loud, not clumsy. Its movements was slow, deliberate, almost serpentine, the quietest predator I'd ever seen. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. My breath fogged out in front of me, too loud, too visible. I lowered my rifle, slow enough not to provoke, until the barrel pointed upward toward its chest. The creature twitched at the motion, one subtle jerk of its head, and a low rumble built deep in its throat. "Luke," Dalton whispered. "Shoot it." The dogman sprang. Branches cracked, snow exploded downward. It didn't leap toward me. It leapt around the trunk, spiraling down the tree like a nightmare blur. I fired. The muzzle flash lit the ravine like lightning. The round tore into its side, making it jerk off course, claws slipping in the bark. It landed half on a branch, half off, snarling, then lunged again. I fired twice more, backing up fast but not too fast. Every shot slammed into meat. It wasn't enough. The creature hit the ground 5 feet from me, skidding, claws cutting deep lines through the snow. It came up fast, moving low, shoulders rolling, jaws snapping. I emptied the rest of my mag into it. Bullets hammered its chest, neck, shoulder, the recoil biting into my palm. It staggered, faltered, then collapsed onto its side with a wet thud, steam rising off its fur, breath rattling once before stopping. I didn't breathe for 3 full seconds. Then I reloaded, hands shaking. "You okay?" I called up, eyes still on the corpse. Dalton exhaled shakily. Yeah, man, but not great. Hang on." I slung my rifle, grabbed a low branch, and climbed. The bark was slick with Dalton's blood. My gloves slid once, nearly making my stomach drop out of my body. I steadied myself, got hold of him, and eased him down branch by branch, supporting most of his weight on my shoulders. When we reached the ground, I wrapped a bandage tight around his leg. He winced, clenching his teeth so hard I heard them grind. "You dropped your med kit," I said. No, he muttered. Tree stole it. We didn't laugh. I helped him up, looping his arm over my shoulder. We're gonna take it slow, I said. Ridge isn't far. Mercer's drawing them off. Dalton nodded weakly. That guy's insane. Yeah, lucky for us. We started moving. The snow muffled everything except Dalton's pained breaths and the crunch of my boots. My flashlight beam jittered with my movements, throwing crooked shadows across the trees. Then the woods went quiet, not empty, not peaceful, quiet because something was listening. I froze. Dalton whispered, "No, no, no, no." Ahead of us, maybe 30 yards, 3 shapes materialized between the trees. Tall, wide, shoulders hunched forward, breath coming out in twin plumes of fog. Dogmen. They weren't charging. They were waiting, watching, their ears tilted forward, in perfect unison. Dalton's grip tightened on my shoulder. Luke, that's a pack. From our left, 4 more shapes joined. From our right, 2 more, 9 total. I didn't move, didn't blink. I knew exactly what was happening, because Mercer had warned us in training that this was the moment predators made their decision. Chase, play, or kill. The largest one stepped forward. Its breath fogged out slow, deliberate. Its claws flexed in the snow. Dalton whispered, "Luke, we can't outrun them." I know. Then, what? One of the dogmen threw its head back and howled, so loud and deep the snow shook loose from branches overhead. Another howl answered it, from behind us, from the ridge. Dalton's eyes widened. Mercer. My stomach twisted. The dogmen before us whipped their heads toward the direction of that second howl, then another, then a third, like commands, like instructions. And suddenly the pack around us tensed. They weren't looking at us anymore. They were looking past us, toward Mercer. The pack moved, not at a run, at a sprint, silent, fast, coordinated, back up the ravine wall, toward him, leaving us behind for the moment. Dalton exhaled shakily. Luke, we need to move. Like, now. I tightened my grip under his arm, and we started climbing, the snow falling steady and thinly around us, the forest roaring with the sound of dogmen chasing the only man crazy enough to challenge them. We weren't out of danger, not even close, but we were alive, for now. I heard the pack before I saw them. The ridge above us shook with their weight, deep, pounding thuds, claws ripping into bark, low snarls echoing through the trees. Snow drifted down in thin sheets as branches snapped under the stampede. Mercer had drawn them away, but that didn't make me feel any better. Dalton leaned heavily against me, breath ragged. Luke, if he's dead, I swear I'm... He's not, I said, half to him and half for myself. Mercer survives things no person should survive. We're catching up. We moved fast as Dalton's wounded leg allowed. Each step up the ravine wall sent fire through my arms, my lungs, my everything. Snow clung to my sleeves and face, melting into icy rivulets that dripped down my neck. At the top, the forest opened into a wide clearing, a frozen lake ringed by trees dark as bruises. The ice stretched pale blue under a layer of fresh snow, Mercer stood out there alone. He limped across the lake with his rifle raised, breath rising like steam. 3 dogmen stalked him on the ice, moving low and deliberate. More watched from the tree line, pacing, waiting, circling. Mercer turned slightly toward us, just enough to register our approach. "Stay back," he shouted. The largest dogman stepped out of the trees and cut him off. The alpha. It was bigger than the others, wider, heavier, fur patchy over muscle, thick like woven cable. Its ears were torn. Its jaw hung lower than normal, like it had been broken at some point and healed wrong. It stood tall on 2 legs, shoulders hunched, breath fogging in deep, rolling clouds. Every other dogman went silent. Dalton whispered, voice trembling, "Luke, that thing could break a car in half." "Yeah," I said, "but right now it's looking at Mercer." The alpha let out a sound I felt more than heard, a rumbling growl that vibrated through the snow under our boots. Then it took one heavy step onto the ice, then another. Blue cracks spidered under its weight. Mercer tightened his grip on his rifle. "Luke," Dalton whispered, "we need to get him off that lake." "Yeah," I said, "but we gotta do it smart." The alpha lunged. Mercer dodged left, barely avoiding claws that would have opened him like a zipper. The alpha slammed into the ice so hard, a jagged burst of cracks shot outward. Mercer fired point blank into its ribs, 2 shots, 3, and the beast reeled back with a roar that flattened the snow around it. 2 smaller dogmen rushed in immediately. Mercer jammed the butt of his rifle into one snout, spun, and put a shot into the second shoulder. They backed off, circling, testing him. I lowered Dalton to a fallen log. "Stay down. Keep your head low." "Luke, I'm coming back for you," I said. "Just don't die." He nodded, pale but determined. I stepped onto the ice. My boots skidded slightly on the thin coat of snow, but I stayed balanced, rifle up. The alpha's attention snapped to me, pupils contracting into thin slits behind it. Mercer staggered, blood leaking from a cut across his ribs. "About time," he grunted. "Sorry," I said. Dalton needed saving. The alpha charged. I fired 3 rounds at its chest. They hit, but it barely slowed. It barreled toward me with terrifying speed, each step cracking the ice like breaking bones. I threw myself sideways. The alpha missed me by inches, claws raking the air. It slid on the ice, momentum carrying it in a violent arc. I got my feet back under me, raised the rifle. Something slammed into my back. Another dogman, smaller, but still the size of a linebacker. It rode me down, snarling, claws scraping at my vest. I kicked backward, trying to throw it off, but it clung like it wanted to peel my spine out. Mercer shot it through the side of the head. The creature dropped limp across my back, nearly knocking me flat again. I rolled it off and gasped in cold air that burned all the way down. "Luke!" Mercer barked. "Left!" I turned just in time for another dogman to lunge. I swung my rifle like a bat, connecting with its jaw. The impact traveled up my arms, but the creature stumbled. Disoriented, I shot it once in the throat. It collapsed, twitching. Then the alpha hit me. It felt like being hit by a truck. The impact ripped my feet off the ice. My vision exploded white. I skidded across the lake, bouncing, sliding, scraping, until I slammed into a ridge of ice near the far edge. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I forced myself onto my elbows just as the alpha stalked toward me, slowly now, savoring this part. Blood dripped from a bullet wound near its ribs, its claws flexed, its jaw hung open in a horrible grin. Snow fell softly between us, tiny flakes melting on its fur. "Come on," I whispered. "Come on, then." It lunged, not for my throat, for my leg. It grabbed me and dragged me across the ice, claws cutting through my pants, teeth grazing my boot. I kicked it in the snout, uselessly. Its grip tightened. Then a flare burst across its face. Mercer. The flare smacked the alpha full in the eye. It howled, dropping me, roaring into the air like it was cursing the sky itself. I scrambled backward, boots slipping, heart hammering so hard it blurred out the cold. The alpha retaliated in an instant. It swiped Mercer off his feet and slammed him into the ice so hard more cracks spidered out beneath him. He rolled, barely dodging a kill strike. Dalton, who should not have been walking, appeared on the ice with a pistol gripped in both hands. "Hey!" he shouted, voice cracking. "Ugly! Over here!" The alpha turned. Dalton fired. 1 round, 2, 3, all into its face. The alpha roared, pawing blindly, blood running down its snout like oil. It charged toward Dalton, footsteps shaking the lake. I knew where they were heading. Thin ice. "Dalton," I shouted, "get away from the center." "I can't," he started. The alpha slammed into him. Dalton flew backward, hitting the ice so hard he bounced. The alpha pounced, jaws gaping. I fired into the ice, not at the alpha, at the ground directly under it. Cracks exploded outward instantly, blue fissures spreading like lightning under the beast's weight. The alpha's claws scrambled for grip as the ice began to buckle. Dalton crawled backward frantically. "Luke," Mercer yelled, "finish it." I sprinted across the cracking ice, sliding into a kneel at the worst possible moment. The alpha turned toward me, snarling, one paw reaching. I jammed the muzzle under its jaw and pulled the trigger. The shot echoed across the lake like a cannon. The alpha reared back. The ice beneath it gave way. It plunged through with a roar that turned into a bubbling scream as the lake swallowed it whole, water rushing into the hole like a hungry mouth. Then silence, just the soft sound of snow falling on shattered ice. Dalton lay flat on his back, panting in short, ragged bursts. "I hate Michigan," he said weakly. "I hate lakes. I hate snow. I hate—" "Shut up," Mercer said, limping over to haul him up by the collar. "You're alive. Barely." I leaned on my rifle, catching my breath. "Is the pack gone?" Mercer looked at the tree line. Dogmen stood there, not charging, not growling, not howling, just watching. Then, slowly, one by one, they stepped back into the trees and vanished. Not defeated, just done. Extraction took hours, and none of us talked during the ride back. Not from exhaustion, from processing. That pack had done something none of the others had. They had pushed us right to the line. At base, Mercer dropped a file folder on the table. Snow still clung to it. "New hunt," he said. "We leave in 72 hours. Dalton groaned. "No, unacceptable. No more cold places." Mercer didn't smile. "Relax. This one's south." "What is it?" I asked. Mercer opened the file. Dead cattle, collapsed barns, tracks that didn't match any known animal. The heading read, Georgia, Class Red Event. Multiple sightings, bipedal predator. Threat designation, Windfolk. Dalton blinked. Wind. What the hell is that? Mercer closed the file. We'll find out.